So I'll conclude by just mentioning that a lot of this material is drawn from my book, Rediscovery of Awe, which came out a few years ago. But I'm in the process of forming a new book tentatively called Awakening to Awe, in which I trace the stories of people who have gone through a great deal of suffering. One person is an ex-gang leader, another is an ex-drug addict, somebody else had chronic cancer, others had trauma in their lives. Each of these people were transformed by the cultivation of a sense of awe in their own ways. And by awe, I mean a sense of the humility and wonder or thrill and anxiety of living. Sort of, again, this opening to the whole enchilada of life, if you will, in all its intensity. But the sense of awe became extremely important to these people. You know, as opposed to, let's say, a dogmatic religion or psychiatric pills. Although some of them flirted with those answers as well. But we came up with some sort of saturated themes out of this study that I thought I'd share with you, that are conditions both favorable to and unfavorable to the cultivation of awe. And I think you'll see the resonance to what I was just describing therapeutically about cultivation of awe. Well, first of all, one needs a basic capacity to subsist, generally. That's a favorable condition. And I will often refer people to job programs or self-help groups if they are in no position to just begin at that very basic level. Time is an essential quality, time. Heidegger, the great existential philosopher, in some ways great, wrote Being and Time. I think he's speaking to this need. We certainly need it in our society. The whole notion of being able to pause and slow down, to reflect, to develop that inner life and the connection with the inner life. A focus on what one loves. You know, gradually, through time, through pausing, developing a sense of what really matters about the direction of one's life and about one's present life. How does one want to use one's space and time? A capacity to see the bigger picture of life. Now, this usually comes out of a great deal of questioning. Sometimes trauma shakes people up to the bigger picture, the bigger questions. Certainly in psychotherapy and depth experiential therapy, this is a major issue. The bigger picture comes out of both the very humbling process of going into one's despair and also the emboldening and empowering process of being held to explore beyond one's despair, to come into the more of who one is, which is continually more than what we are, if you will, wherever we are. An appreciation for the fact of life. I do think that this dimension comes out of good depth therapy often. So it's not just about breaking through symptoms or a specific problem. It's about coming into a new freedom, a freedom to experience the juices of living, if you will, to appreciate being. And God knows, or existence knows, one appreciates being when one has been in the dregs, when one has really witnessed what it's like to be hanging by a fingernail in being, and yet come into the more. Appreciation of pain as a sometimes teacher. This, I'm sure, speaks for itself, but clearly, again, pain can have resources if we can stay with it and skillfully help somebody work it through. Contemplative time alone. Contemplative time alone. This is another factor that came out of this research. This is key, I believe, and something that, some artists have spoken to this, that it seems rarer and rarer these days that people have a sense of solitude. I remember watching a terrific interview with the Russian filmmaker Tarkovsky. He did the original Solaris, which to me is one of the fascinating films about mystery. It's about astronauts traveling to this mysterious planet and transforming through that experience. One of the astronauts, by the way, is a conventional cognitive behavioral therapist. And he does not come out of that experience the same way. But he was very skeptical going on that journey. But Tarkovsky said, and he unfortunately died young too, but he was asked about young people. You have anything to say to young people today? And today was 20 years ago. I think it's even more true today. He said, I think kids need to spend more time alone. They need to spend more time in nature, let's say, or in contemplation, or in pausing. That we're too caught up, distracted by the mechanics of the world, by the high-tech wizardry. Not that that's, again, a bad thing en masse, but we're so caught up in that you rarely see kids taking this kind of time. I have this own challenge with my son, although I think he's doing a beautiful job. Probably because I harangue him too much, but we have some good discussions about this sort of thing. But they're text messaging at the